Jay here, welcome to Eons of Battle. The Armageddon launch box for 11th edition has finally been revealed. They've been showing off a whole bunch of stuff over the last few weeks, and it's been a little bit boring on the Space Marine side and a little bit exciting on the Orc side. But now that we've gotten the last few things shown off, I'm really pumped for this box. On the Space Marine side, we got, 23 miniatures? And I do really like them. The Captain with Relic Shield is really good. And when I first saw that shield, my first thought was I still have the guy with the shield from the old Indominus box, but this guy is very different and very cool. His pose is phenomenal. He has almost enough purity seals on him. How many does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 9 purity seals on him. We could bump those purity seal numbers up just a little bit, but I love his cape pulled up over his shoulder pad. I really like the detail that the painters did of painting one of his feet in like hot rod flames. And I might do that on my own Black Templar guy. Just I'll do yellow instead of black. And he looks really good. I like everything about this guy. He's very cool looking. I've been painting up a lot of Space Marine characters. I think I might have like 4,000 or 5,000 points of just character models, but this guy is definitely gonna be joining the ranks. Speaking of somebody though who won't be joining the ranks, the Librarian. I like a good Librarian. I've never used one in game because I play Black Templars and Black Templar players are not allowed to have Librarians, and I wouldn't take one even if I was allowed because they're icky. They're icky psychers. This guy though is really nice. He looks just as like interesting and intimidating as the Librarian and Terminator armor that we saw with the old Leviathan box. His pose is very reminiscent of some Librarians that we've seen in the past, and I really like his psychic hood and his big hoses. All Librarians have these hoses that go under their armpits that I guess focus their psychic energy. I don't know exactly how Librarians work, and I don't care to because I don't like them, but this guy is really neat. The model that I'm most excited for, I think in this entire box, the Chaplain with Jump Pack. This guy is so awesome. He's so cool. His skull helmet looks so interesting. I love the Imperium Eagle just stamped right into his forehead. He is almost perfect. I would say that he is perfect, but I would like another one that would harken back to some of the older Chaplain models. And I might have to make one that way. I think I'll have two because I think here at Eons of Battle Industries, we're thinking about getting maybe 2 of these boxes. And so I might have one to build as the perfect this guy, and then maybe one to kit bash and convert and just hack to pieces and turn into my second super awesome Chaplain. But yeah, I really like this guy. Then there is the Ancient. Thank goodness we needed another Space Marine Ancient. There's only been like 6 or 7 in recent memory, but this guy does look really good. I like the sculpted banner. I love the orc heads or the orc skulls that are on fire. That'll be a really good touch, not only for the Blood Angels that are in the lore fighting the orcs right now, but it'll also work for my Black Templar Crusade, who's been fighting against Nyx blue orcs for 200 years. And so this will be a really nice banner to turn into a Black Templar's banner. Everything else about the guy is super interesting and super cool. But moving on to the Intercessors, just the regular old bolter-wielding Space Marines, I definitely think they picked by far the most boring one to show off because there's actually a couple of interesting things going on. There's some poses that we haven't seen with Intercessors, which is a little surprising because I thought we had seen every single pose possible for a Space Marine to be in, but we got some interesting stuff going on in here. One little tiny pet peeve of mine, and they did this on the Sternguard veteran Space Marines, but to make a bolter look more interesting, they just took a picture of a bullet and then like cut it out of part of the armor of the bolters. And I feel like that looks really bad. Like my brain sees it and immediately thinks of the like cooling shroud that you see on some weapons, like a SPAS 12 shotgun, like the one from Jurassic Park. That's where my brain goes to, but then I see it's the shape of a bullet. And so then I'm like, oh, but it's not that though. It just looks kind of bad. I don't know. It's not my favorite thing, but it's the easiest thing in the world to just take a little putty and fill in. It's not a big deal. I just think it's a weird choice that Games Workshop came up with to make bolters look a little bit more interesting. Other than that, I really like these guys. I like that some of them have some very unique cowling when compared to just a regular old Intercessor. We got some slightly Mark V-ish legs and Mark V-ish chesticles. We got some interesting helmets. I particularly like the one with the servo robot eye, but I think these guys are gonna be some good old-fashioned intercessors. I only have 5. No, I sold them. I used to have a whole bunch of intercessors, but I painted them in my old Black Templar recipe, and so I ended up selling those guys. Currently, I only have 5 regular assault intercessors, or regular intercessors. I have a lot of assault intercessors. And so it'll be good to get those number of normal Space Marines up a little bit. But speaking of not normal Space Marines, Vanguard Veterans. I'm very intrigued to know what these guys are gonna look like in the rules, because the classic Vanguard Veterans went to Legends, but they were a really, really interesting unit. You could take Storm Shields on everybody, so you had 5 Jump Pack Marines with a 4-up invulnerable save. You could take, if you didn't want the Storm Shield, you could take Crazy Pistols on everybody, like Hand Flamers or Inferno Pistols. And then you could take any number of different close combat weapons. Although I think in the most recent rules, it was all turned into one weapon profile called the Heirloom Weapon, which was 5-2-1, 1 damage, which was kind of a bummer. It definitely needs to be turned into at least 5-2-2 to be good in the game. But these guys are 5 good-looking dudes, all with power swords, and 1 plasma pistol and just regular heavy bolt pistols. It's a little samey with the regular old assault intercessors. I mean, you've just swapped out the chainswords for power weapons. Hopefully, soon after the release of this box, we're gonna get a multi-part plastic kit for the Vanguard Veterans that might include some other things, like maybe a power fist. It'd really be cool if you could have storm shields on these guys, because that was such a unique thing, and it kind of changes the way you use them in game. Where if they are just heavy bolt pistol and power weapon guys, they're just gonna be a bit more expensive than regular old assault intercessors with jump pack, and if they're cheap enough, maybe that's good enough. Overall, I do like the models, and I do want a whole bunch more fast attack things in my army. Speaking of things though that are absolutely not fast attack, Eradicator Squad with heavy bolters. I clocked this guy on the front cover of the box. You can just about see him in the front bottom, and I was like, oh, Gravis with a heavy bolter. Just give me a whole squad of Gravis guys with heavy bolters, and they did it. Oh, and I'm really, really pumped for it. I really like Gravis armor stuff. Not so much the aggressors, but I do really like Eradicators and heavy intercessors. And these guys do step on the toes a little bit of heavy intercessors, because you get 1 Gravis guy with a heavy bolter, and then you get a whole bunch, or you get 4 more Gravis guys with Gravis bolters. And so all in all, it's a pretty bolter shooty focused squad. And these guys are also going to be a bolter shooty focused squad. Although in the reveal show, they said that their weapons are going to have the blast keyword on normal guns, which I think the technical rules as written, they might need to do like an FAQ to make that technically work, because there's some weirdness with the blast keyword. But if it's true, it might get nerfed, because that's crazy. Like a heavy bolter gets 3 shots apiece, but if for each of these guys who's shooting at an enemy unit that's like a 20-man squad, they're gonna get 4 extra shots each. Like, that seems a little bit obnoxious. I mean, I want it to work that way because it'd be really cool. You just get so many extra bullets, and then sustained hits 1 on top of all of those extra shots. Like, it gets a little silly. And if they are eradicators, maybe they do need a little extra oomph for their heavy bolters to make a heavy bolter equal in points to a multi-melta. But overall, I really like these guys. They're really solid. I'm really excited to have some more opportunities to take heavy bolters, because I like a good heavy bolter. And I kind of like Gravis. Right now on my painting desk, I actually am putting together another squad of Inceptors, but I'm replacing their heavy bolter pistols with just classic heavy bolters. I bought some on eBay, and so I'm kit bashing those into their hands. And so I do kind of want to put together a Space Marine army with as many heavy bolters as I can legally take. I do think that that would be a really fun army. And speaking of taking heavy bolters, the Land Speeder. This guy is delightful. I actually just sold my old Land Speeders. They've been in Legends for a while now, especially since the Storm Speeders came out. And this is really interesting to me because the Storm Speeder is kind of dead, right? Like, nobody likes that model. It came out and it's a flying brick. It's clearly inspired by the old Land Speeder, but it's just way, way, way bigger. It has way more guns, but the points have been steadily dropping on them because nobody is taking them, and I don't think anyone is buying them because they look really bad. It's like a box of Kleenex with 3 Space Marines sitting inside of it. It's horribly ugly. And I haven't seen it do almost anything on the tabletop. I don't know if I've ever seen one in person, and I play a lot of 40k and I go to a lot of events and I see a lot of armies, and I've never seen one of those models. So I just leave a comment below if you like storm speeders, because I have a hunch that no one does. But this is a land speeder, and it looks to be about the same size as the old land speeder. I'm sure it's a smidge bigger. But the old land speeder was on a 60mm flying stand base, and this looks to be on probably like the 75mm oval, which is very similar to that old basing size. It's much smaller. It has the same weapon loadouts as the old storm speeder and as the storm speeders, land speeder, storm speeder, all of these names. But I like it a lot. I like that it's small. They gave a little sneak preview of the rules where it's going to have shoot and scoot. After it's done shooting, then it can make a D6-inch move, which is really, really nice on something small and light and not particularly durable, but can do a little bit of shooting. So I like this a lot. It'll be really cool for some more fast attack options for Space Marines that aren't a giant flyer. Like the storm speeders are gigantic flyers that are pointed as if they're these little like attack bike things. I don't get it, but I do like this model a lot. I think it's really neat. I think this actually takes inspiration well from the old land speeder, where like the primarisification of things can kind of go one of two ways. Either it just becomes humongous and obnoxious, or there's just little touches. And this is definitely a very light touch transformation into a more modern Space Marine kit. I do really like the new helmets, like the pilot helmet. It reminds me a lot of the clone troopers from Star Wars in Attack of the Clones, when like every different genre of a clone trooper, like any different activity they could be doing, they always had a unique helmet to go along with it. And so I do like the different helmets, although I have a hunch that I'm gonna be ripping those helmets off and putting on some classic Screamer mask Black Templar faces, because that's just kind of what my army is. They're not wearing their shoulder pads. I'm gonna put some shoulder pads on these guys. I don't know what drilling or hacking or grinding I'm gonna have to do. They need to be wearing their shoulder pads. I mean, if they're gonna be in an exposed cockpit, they're gonna be wearing their armor. The only thing you're allowed to go into battle with is you can go without your helmet because it's awesome. But other than that, you do need to be wearing your armor. I am looking forward to the Space Marine half of this box. It actually will fill some gaps in my Space Marine army, even though I have a monstrous Space Marine army. And I was a little bit thinking like, oh no, this box is gonna come out and it's probably gonna be full of things that I already have tons of. And so maybe I'll skip it, or I don't know what I'm gonna do. It actually does come with a whole bunch of stuff that my army could definitely make use of. So I am looking forward to greatly expanding the Crusade. I am very excited, almost as excited as I am to tell you about the amazing hobby products available from EonsOfBattle.com. Over there, we're all restocked on our excellent hobby goodies, Great Head Studio Bits for your Space Marines, Army Painter paints, brushes, basing cork, ultra thick and ultra thin super glue, and we've got terrain. It's the best way to support us doing what we do by getting a membership. Each month, members get a credit good for any one terrain pack we've ever made or the brand new one. We have created the Armored Accessories Bits Pack. This set is full of awesome components to make your vehicles as unique and characterful as your infantry, with all kinds of equipment, storage barrels and tools for your tanks to carry, seals and tassels that are vehicle sized, big ol' missiles, and extra armor. So many pieces of armor plating in different sizes and styles, so your tanks can get the up armor treatment that looks best for them. Whether it's a futuristic war machine, an ancient Hulk, or a chaotic monstrosity, these accessories will have your tanks covered. This bits pack is by tank players for tank players and is available both digitally and physically printed for you at EonsOfBattle.com. Moving on into the orc side of the box. The orc side is definitely a little bit more intriguing because where a lot of those Space Marine things are slightly new, like it's stuff we've seen before but done again with like some minor changes, the orc stuff is kind of similar. It's stuff that we've seen before mostly, but it's stuff that we haven't seen changed in like 20 years. So there's a lot more things that are different, even though these are technically models that we know and love. Starting off with the War Boss. This guy is intense. I love the boss pole. I love his Daka gun. It's interesting that he doesn't have a power claw, and his power, or his axe, his big choppa is so integrated into the sculpt. I do wonder if we're going to see a power claw. It could be done, maybe it's in the box, but it does seem to be that this guy is set up to have a big choppa and to do some serious damage with that big choppa. During the reveal show, they mentioned that in 11th edition, close combat weapons can potentially have the blast keyword, which is really interesting. Once again, we'll have to see how that works because like, are all big choppas gonna have the blast keyword? And in that case, am I gonna have a 6-man squad of a war boss and knobs that are all getting like +2 attacks each for going into a 10-man squad? We'll have to see how that actually works in game and if it's gonna get nerfed or point cost into oblivion. But it is a really neat touch, and I do like this guy a ton. I think it's the best looking war boss. He doesn't have an attack squig, which is a little bit of a bummer, but other than that, I like everything about this guy. And speaking of guys that actually do have an attack squig, the big boss. Orcs finally have a lieutenant, and this is a very nice lieutenant. He is definitely not as embellished as a war boss, but he shouldn't be because he's not quite a war boss. He's the big boss. And he's got the weirdest little grot bug lizard thing. Ankylosaurus, I don't know what's going on with this weird little squig, but I like it. He's also got a beaky helmet hanging between his legs. And I dig his big, like flared shoulder pads. I like that there's a lot of him showing. His electrified his electrified big choppa. He also has a boss pole, but not one that is as embellished as the war boss. I think this guy looks absolutely phenomenal. And hopefully he will be a nice cheap include in a squad of orcs because right now a war boss is really cheap. They're like 80 points and you arguably have to buy one for every squad of boys you have because otherwise boys aren't really good enough and war bosses are so cheap, why wouldn't you buy 3? But then why does every orc army have war bosses all over the place? Like there's supposed to only be one. He's the boss and he's leading the charge. But hopefully the big boss, it is gonna be like war bosses in training and they're gonna be waiting in the wings and this is the unit that is gonna be splashed out all over your army and then you'll only have one super hypercharged awesome war boss. Moving on to the banner knob. That is a very big and impressive banner. I love the glyphs that are running up the pole. I really like that it's pretty much big and flat and so you can paint whatever you want on there. I have a Mad Max themed orc army and so I'm gonna have to figure out some Mad Max themed like art to splash out on there. I actually own the making of art book for Mad Max Fury Road, so I'll have to flip through that again and find something interesting to put on there. But man, this is a really cool piece. I really hope that in the way it's constructed, it is a push fit model, but if I can isolate just the topper with like the weird orc skull and horns, I would love to put that on the war boss because I think it would look really cool as a scary face mask. Other than that though, this guy looks phenomenal. He'll look really cool on the tabletop. I love a big banner. Next up we got the Pain Boy, another plastic Pain Boy and a very characterful Pain Boy. I liked the old one where he had the weird power claw that was every one of his fingers was a different surgical implement. And so I'm really glad that I have that guy. And then I can also get this guy and then I'll have 2 remarkably interesting looking Pain Boys. But this guy with his weird like injector that has little jaws on it. I like that he's severed his own fingers to turn them into more medical instruments. And then his little grot orderly has got a bone saw. And he's cradling it like a baby. He loves that little bone saw. He's gonna get put to work. This guy looks absolutely fantastic. Really cool. Very nice paint job with the Games Workshop Heavy Metal team. The blood is phenomenal. It's a little subtle, but it's really nice. And I do like that his white schmuck, it looks like it at one point was checkerboarded, but maybe it's been washed so many times that the checkerboarding has been like washed out of the clothing. It's very subtle and probably very hard to paint, but I think it's a really nice touch to this figure. Then speaking of nice figures, we got the Weird Boy, and this guy is weird. I have the old Weird Boy where the grots were kind of holding him down, and I think this guy will also make for a really nice, flavorful Weird Boy with the hoses and pipes and cords just sticking up at all sorts of weird angles. This guy is fantastic. I really hope that they play around with the Weird Boy rules because he's still, like in 10th edition, you still have like the jump and psychic abilities. They just don't really do much and I feel like they're not pointed very well. So hopefully they'll make the Weird Boy like a really good thing to take in the game where it's like a cheap upgrade that you can just throw into your guys and they all of a sudden become a little bit better or a little bit more interesting. They've teased a little bit the rules for 11th edition. And it seems like there's going to be some fairly major changes for attaching units and for attaching, not stratagems, enhancements. Enhancements aren't necessarily only going to be going on your generic characters, but now they can potentially be attached to units. And I'm really hoping that that's the case and that works really, really well, because I would love to be able to take some of my favorite units in the game and then just make them better and make them more unique. And so the Weird Boy is really neat. And speaking of boys, we've got Orc Boys. No longer are we stuck with the classic Orc Boy kit from, I think, 1999, and then there was like an upgrade frame that came out a little bit later to change some things about them. But man, these orcs look really, really good. Interestingly, no big shooter or missile launcher. I don't really think it'll be missed. I never remembered to actually shoot mine in game because it never mattered, because they never hit anything anyway. But it is interesting that they are conspicuously absent. But with everybody now having a shooter, slugger, and chopper, it probably won't be missed, because I would much rather, instead of getting 3 big shooter shots that hit on 5s, I would rather have everybody get 2 extra shots that hit on 5s. That it mathematically works out much, much better. These guys look really, really good. I love their weird orky faces. I really like that they now just get to have the shooter in addition to their close combat weapons, because orc shooters do look really cool. Like, it's like when a little kid draws a gun, they just made that into a real life thing and gave it to the orcs. That's what they look like. They're really cute. I really like these guys. Interestingly, I don't think we see a Power Claw in this starter set, which seems sacrilegious, but I do wonder if Power Claws do kind of suck. Like, they hit on 4s and they only get a couple of attacks. They're not as good as Power Fists, and where Space Marine Power Fists have been getting better to hit characteristics, and they've been getting more attack characteristics, Power Claws kind of haven't, so they've been bad. There's definitely been times, like in 8th edition, you just didn't take Power Claws. You would always take the big chopper, because you just got way more attacks, you had way more ability to actually get damage through. So it'll be interesting to see if orcs get any sort of a big shakeup of their rules in general, where maybe Power Claws will be a much more rare thing. But in the instances where you do see them, they're very, very powerful, which would be cool, as opposed to giving up a couple of your attacks to maybe get some strength 8 punching through. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, but it does seem interesting that we're not getting like the thing of orcs, the classic Power Claw. Then we got the thing that we've been showing off all week, the little Gretchen. These guys are adorable, and they're really, really cool looking, but in game they're gonna do precisely nothing, but hopefully generate you the occasional command point. And if they're attached to Zogrod Wartsnaga, then they'll actually be usable. If definitely not getting into good territory, but they'll definitely be really, really interesting to play with. I think these guys look so unbelievably better than the old Gretchen that it's not even funny. These guys are fantastic. One thing that we have not been shown yet, and I got really excited when I saw this, is the War Track. I have an old War Track, the old plastic one from back in the Dizay, but I am a Speed Freaks connoisseur. I love the Evil Sons. I have a Mad Max biker orc army, and you're giving me a unit, another vehicle unit that I can take 3 of and have them driving around the board. This is really, really cool. Even if it is a missile launcher rig and the orc shooting is so bad that there's almost no point to it, I think I'll still take it. And hopefully you'll get like 2 orc chopper profiles, so it'll hopefully still be able to do a little something in close combat. But I really, really like this thing. It looks really cool, and it's small. I really like when things are the appropriate size, because holy cow, the orc buggies are fantastic, but they should be hull measuring units. Having them each on a giant 120mm base basically makes them way worse in game. It's impossible to hide them. It's very difficult to move them. If I have to try to get around enemy models, like in regular Games Workshop tournament regulation layouts, if there's like 2 Space Marines side by side, I can no longer drive past them because my 120mm oval base can't get between them and the gaps in the buildings. I don't like it. It's actually really bad. And so I really appreciate some smaller things in the game because it actually makes them much easier to play with. Although one thing that's not necessarily small, the Big Mech Daka rig. This guy is large and in charge. It is just a humongous gun on legs. It reminds me a lot of the Ratlin Warp Blasta for the Skaven that we saw in the Dominion box for Age of Sigmar, but this thing is hilarious. It actually does have a mech on top, and it does have a custom force field. Although it is the weeniest little force field. I didn't even notice it, and when they said it, I had to look for it, and it's just 2 little dots. It's 2 little balls on this little spinny doodad right behind his chair. It does seem a little lame for a custom force field, but this is an orc vehicle. I can create whatever custom force field I want. I'll glue on little bits from toys and little scrap from my garage, and I will make a proper custom force field. But another thing that is really interesting about this kit, one of the announcers mentioned it in the video, that if you squint a little, it kind of looks like a squig, and it for sure looks a lot like a squig. If you painted the legs and then the front armor red, it would look a lot like a squig, and I feel like that would look really, really cool. You paint some eyes on the top armor, you just make sure that the rest of the stuff going on with this kit is really, really dark. It would actually look like a squig. It would be a totem of squig. And it would be really, really interesting and cool looking. I like this thing a lot. It is very cool looking. I like the idea of orc shooty stuff. If it's a dedicated shooting thing, it's allowed to have some okay orc shooting. But when just regular orc shooting gets kind of good, that's when orcs get nerfed. That's what we've seen happen all of 10th edition. So it'll be interesting to see what the rules are like for that guy. And that is all of the models that are going to be in the box. It feels a little light, but I haven't really compared it to some of the old boxes. I feel like nothing will ever be as dense as the old Indominus box, the Necrons versus the Ultramarines. That was a fully loaded box. I think each faction got a couple of bigger things in the box. Where here, each guy, the orcs got 2 vehicles. They got the War Track and the big mech Daka rig. But for Space Marines, they just get the little Storm Speeder, but that's enough. I'm okay with it being a little Land Speeder. And the Eradicator squad with heavy bolters, I'm really, really pumped for. Let me know in the comments below, what was your favorite thing that was shown off in the boxes? What has got you really excited? I feel like with the launch box, often it's a lot of very generic stuff that ends up in your lists, but then it often starts to get kind of filtered out as you add in other things to your army, as you start to kind of create what you like to play with. And so let me know what thing would you almost want to build around? I think for me, I want a lot of heavy bolters. So I'm very excited about the Eradicator squad with heavy bolter, and I'm very excited about jump packs. I got a bunch of jump pack Marines on my painting desk right now. I'm really hoping they've teased a little bit with the rules that the way detachments are gonna work is you can combine them. So I'm really hoping to test this out in a way with an army that takes a lot of fast attack choices and a lot of things that can carry heavy bolters. And if I can have rules that help make my heavy bolters better and rules that make my jump pack guys a little bit better, and then just smash that together, that sounds like a lot of fun. That's what I'm hoping for out of 11th edition. I am very excited for this box. And I have a lot of Space Marines to get done before this box comes out, because I want to hit the ground running when I can get my hands on this. Thanks for watching.